being too hard on Joel Embiid?
Absolutely not. He wanted this. He loves attention. I'm guilty as well. And my grandmother used to say, once you call for attention, baby, you can't hang up. And think about it. Think about it. Once you want the smoke, don't start coughing now. Yeah, right on cue. Look at you over here. You wanted this smoke, Joel Embiid, going at everybody, trolling them, clowning them, and doing those type of antics. Like you said, Shaq 2.0. Shaq went out there and said, game speaks first, and then everything comes because of that game. And because he came into these playoffs injured, and now he's going to leave sick, those inconsistencies and the lack of production at critical times is why we're on his head right now, as we should be.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm a dean at the University of Body Language.
Okay.
So I'm a little upset at some of the interpretation about what's going on with Embiid and what it means, particularly from our friend Charles Barkley, is he's sucking the energy out of the room and all that. I don't know, anytime a guy is injured or is ill of health, to determine exactly how much that's affecting him is always a slippery slope. I don't know. I don't know how he feels. I don't know how much it's affecting him. The fact of the matter is he has played. And to this point, I haven't heard him make any excuses. He has demonstrated that he's ill. There may be some indications that he's ill. But if he's not saying anything and he's going to suit up and he's going to try again, I'm going to give him that. The big issue that I have is the comparison between Embiid and Jokic, because we happen to have back-to-back games where one guy wins going away and the other one gets stuffed, because I don't think that that's a fair comparison. When I look at the teams and how they're built, it's not even. This is a team built for Jokic to shine and to do what he does. This is not a team built in Philadelphia to take the most.
That's incredible. You got to blame Philadelphia management. They've had a process, and he's been at the center of the process, but it's not built for the process?
Actually, the process was stopped halfway through. Now, I've never been a believer in the process, but they took the keys to the car from Sam Hinkie halfway through the process. He demolished it, he got all the assets, and then they said, thank you for your service, we're going to do the rest of it. I do not like the way this team is built, and I especially don't like the way it's built around Joel Embiid. You cannot play Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid together and think that you're going to get the best out of Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
My issue, I guess, a good friend of mine is a minority owner with the Sixers. And a couple years ago, I told him, I said, the biggest challenge you're going to have with Embiid is he's going to try to be a star too much. And that's the thing. And that's the thing I talk about a lot about that, is that he can't do that. So the process is there, but he has to, I think Embiid has to get himself in better shape. First of all, a lot of this is on Embiid.
He looked good in that video, though.
Oh, he
right?
looked ripped.
When he was on stage, he looked ripped.
I think a lot of it, he has to get in better shape. To me, I'm going to demand a lot more out of Embiid. Listen, 141 games, I think it is, 410 games, he only played 158 in 3 years that he's been there, okay? Some injuries you can't control.
Right.
But being in shape and being ready to play is something that you can control. And again, the Philadelphia 76ers had to figure this out. I think it's too early to kind of break it up, but they had to put more demands, and Embiid has to come in better shape for me.
Not too hard on Embiid, the criticism last night and from others.
Well, no, because you're the star of the team, okay? Once you dress up, you say you're ready to play, anything you do, you're going to get criticized. If you have a great game, they're going to love you to death. If you don't play well, they're going to say, that's just part of the business.
Rick, the one thing I don't understand is, why is it unfair? These both guys are 24. They came out in the same draft. One went in the second round. One was the third overall pick. They're playing for two franchises that hadn't had, and I know they tore it all down in Philadelphia. But to see these guys and where they're at now, 4 years later, at age 24, why can't I compare them?
Well, you can, but I feel as if a lot of this is being built off of last night and last night's particular games. If I look at Joel Embiid's overall ability, he is a better player than Nikola Jokic when healthy and without injury. He is capable of doing more at both ends.
His postseason numbers, not just last night, his postseason numbers this year, all down from the regular season. Jokic's numbers all up from the regular season. It's not a one-off.
Okay, but who is he playing against? He's playing against the Portland Trail Blazers right now that have Enes Kanter. I'm looking at a Joel Embiid who's playing with Jimmy Butler, who's a ball hog. Ben Simmons, who's a point guard who can't shoot and isn't always aggressive. And Tobias Harris, who you got through mid-season and you're still trying to
Is Mutombo
bring
playing
into
center
this.
for Toronto, or
No. But if you're asking me who's the better player, Marc Gasol or Enes Kanter, Marc Gasol by far, and then being able to bring a Serge Ibaka, the depth that Toronto has. My great issue with Toronto actually has been that they have not been taking full advantage of Joel Embiid not being 100%. Last night was the first time where I saw Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka really assert themselves. They should be doing that throughout if Embiid's not 100%. But he's playing against far more difficult talent in Toronto than Jokic is facing.
I know where Rick stands.
With Portland.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's interesting, before we even go deeper into that comparison, I guess, is the fact that you brought up Shaq 2.0 and how you said, hey, don't try and be a star too much or too soon. It's amazing that in 2004, being out here in Los Angeles and watching them have to go through the riff of Kobe and Shaq, and they chose the younger, more stable, healthier, more invested player, but not the better player. And remember, there were conversations about, oh, Joel Embiid is untradeable. If anybody, is Ben Simmons. When I heard that, I said, they have that one backwards. Even if Ben Simmons doesn't have a jump shot, you still got to invest in the guy who seems like his focus is a little more into this. You disagree?
Well, I'm putting Ben Simmons next to Kobe Bryant as the choice is where I get a little nervous.
No, it's not those two, because he's not Shaq.
I understand what you're saying, though.
But
the more durable, the more consistent player,
more
over
invested.
the guy.
Rick, and this is more of a football phrase or cliche, but availability trumps ability.
I get it.
And Joel Embiid is very unavailable. And so, again, I think, and we know where you stand, but I'll start with you. I think between these two, Nikola Jokic I think he's the future of big men in this league. And trust me, it took me a while. Earlier this year, I was laughing at the thought of even talking about Jokic on this show.
Right.
But I'm watching this dude in the playoffs, and there's something real here.
He is a unique talent. I don't think he's the future, and I think we're going to get into this.
Big man. Yeah, that's where.
But for me, look, I get it with Embiid. I hate giving up on a young player who I look at, whose problems essentially in my mind are maturity issues. If you can take some of the kid out of Embiid, I look at what he's capable of. I look that he's fearless when, give me the ball, I want to attack. That's something I can't teach Ben Simmons. You either have that
Let's move
approach
off
or
Ben
not.
Simmons, and we're just talking about Embiid
Fair
and
enough.
Jokic.
Fair enough. I look at the abilities that Embiid has, and I have grave concerns about
That's not available.
his health. It's why he's got a 35-page contract. I'm protected. I'm protected when it comes to that. But I would rather have, when I see a guy, and we all know it, you look at a guy and you go, boy, he's got everything. I'd rather look at a guy and say, he's got everything. Let me see if I can keep him healthy and get him to the finish line, than a guy I look at and go, boy, that's nice, that's unique,
And
but I
he
can't
elevates
believe that he's going to leave
everybody,
me
right?
someplace.
Well, I mean, Jokic has. Here's the thing too: it's time and situation. The situation in Denver is perfect for Jokic in regards to what he does as a player. Rarely do we see now the offense running through your post player, and they do that in Denver because of how the system is and because the guys are young and they're still trying to learn. My thing with Embiid is this: is that we talk about Shaq being an outgoing, fun guy. But when it crossed the line, how serious Shaq was. But Shaq's personality was like that when we were back in high school. But once he crossed the line, he knew when to shut that off, and he was serious about his game. Now, as he got older, he got out of shape and things like that. But during his prime, Shaq was all about his business once he crossed the line. I think a lot of times with Embiid, and this is a challenge, and I said this from the beginning with the Sixers, of how do you allow Embiid to be Embiid, but implore him to be more serious about his business. That's what you have to look at. Year 3, I say you got a couple more years to figure this out with Embiid, with his health, more importantly, with his attitude. If it doesn't happen, then you have to make a decision. But right now, I still think it's a little bit too early. But Jokic gives you the key to what a big man can do in the league when you have a skill set like that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's interesting talking to Shaquille O'Neal. Maybe this was 3 years ago in the summer, and he was talking about how his son is so different than him in the way he plays as a big. And we were talking about how things are in your imagination until you see it, and then it's reality. And he was saying how he was stuck in the restricted area. He said coaches would yell at him when he got out of the restricted area. And then you watch the evolution. You see it go to a Garnett, and then you see it go to a KD. Then you see this unicorn Porzingis out there when available, and they just continue to stretch it. But now we're seeing a point center. Like, think about it, how it used to be a point forward was amazing. Now we're seeing a point center. So what's going to happen now is some kid who is trending that size is going to now have that available in his imagination and in reality. So, yeah, the future of big men is, why let someone else facilitate for you when you can be the focal point of that offense?
Alonzo Mourning is a good friend of mine, and we talk about this. He talking about if I played today, I said, dog, you wouldn't be the same player. Okay, because one, from the age of 10, 11, 12, 13, you're going to be taught to play on the perimeter. You're not going to be posted up. You're not going to have coaches that are say, anchor yourself down on the block. So to your point, a lot of the bigs now that, a lot of the bigs that played in the past talk about how they'll dominate. I'm like, no, you wouldn't. Because you would not be the same
It's not the
player
same game.
growing up today because you'll be taught the game different. So to your point, I get what you're saying.
I think, and again, I don't want to compare this guy to Bill Walton in his prime because Bill Walton in his prime was a really special person. Defensively, offensively, the way he passed. But I do see some of those qualities in Jokic in terms he elevates this entire Nuggets team.
He's a thinking man's basketball player.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, and I love that. I love watching him play. But you talk about being in shape. He could use some of that, too.
A lot of that.
Well, and again, that's why it's only going to get better. He's just a kid.
Okay, so hold on. Hold on.
You caught it too. Go get him.
Wait. So Embiid can't grow into being more serious about his job and his health. But the other kid is.
The other one's Embiid's got a personality that
Jokic does too.
Showtime all the
Yeah, Jokic is crazy too. Jokic even admits he likes to eat. He almost accepts I'm out of shape. Like, he got your body on my height, and he out there just running around like, that's not good enough. You've been in the NBA too long to be that guy still and take it. Like, he doesn't matter.
On that,
I got to think about that with my body and your height.
I like that.
How offended should I be on the scale?
That was off the dome right there, too. I like that.